Imagination! Yeah, this is gonna be this is gonna be another bad year for Sentai. Just on the execution of the opening episode of Tokkyuger, it was not good. It's a really bad contrast with Gaim, as that's growing up. It's taking responsibility for things, and then you have Tokkyuger, which is imagination. And yeah, that's not exactly an immature theme, but it's how it's being presented as the characters they're making for it. It's like they're on the cusp of adulthood and they're not growing up. And I mean this in the worst ways. You can be an adult and you can have imagination. You can be like me and have like childish intended interests, and really they're not that childish. I just like good stories and experiencing a media I grew up with to this day. There's a difference between being a fan of something that's intended for a younger audience and being an outright and acting as if you're not going to mature, grow up, being things to stay as they were. And I don't think it would have been bad had they gotten younger actors, but as it is, it's like they're late teens and they're acting like they're 9, half their age, and it's irritating. And it's part of what I call the Carranger effect. It's being childish and stupid and silly for no other reason but to be that. It's not even for comedy, really. It's lampshading its own absurdity, and not in the way Carranger did it, because Carranger was about delusion. It was about accepting these things as hell. You like it anyways, just because you like it, and having the imagination to fantasize yourself being in that position and becoming a hero. And everybody wants to be the hero of their own story, so and with how they built the characters in Carranger, you got to care about them. And you didn't even get their names. In the narrative, it's like it's one-off mention. You don't even get their names from the first episode, really, unless you're really paying attention. And with how the subtitles were presented, yeah, I don't actually know who did the subtitles this week. I found them on YouTube. Nobody gave me the listing for it. Though it didn't help, the video footage was pretty bare bones, despite being HD. No, you don't, that's not HD. HD is smoothness of picture, and I'm complaining about something that will not be relevant in the future. I actually took notes this week, so I'm a bit more on focus. Yeah, it's more about how they act, and it's not endearing at all. They're all morons! And I don't want my protagonists to be morons. I hate that cliche. And hell, when the smartest person of the protagonists is the puppet, this is going to be a bad year. This is probably going to be my continuing complaints for this show, and it's I miss Tokkyuger. It's like, yeah, there were a bunch of stupid things in it, and they were ruled by the gimmick, but good storytelling, good characters. I don't know, maybe that'll change. It's just that it irks me. Yeah, this is definitely Carranger effect. Imagination is their power, but like I said, it comes more off as delusion. Most said that already. Yeah, about the lampshading it, it's the monster is regularly saying, "This doesn't make any sense." It's like, well, yeah, I'd say, on one hand, well, yeah, it's imagination. It doesn't exactly have to make sense. But On the other hand, it's a show. You're supposed to work it out so it does make sense. You can't actually make all the jokes not about how absurd it is. It'll get old fast, and it'll come off as the production team really didn't care about what they were doing, and that's going to make the show decline as a whole. I mean, they beat the monster by burying it in statues after shooting it with the team bazooka. Why did the statues appear? Why? So, yeah, show starts off with the Red of the team getting introduced to the audience as he's abducted by the Shadow Line, which intends to remove all imagination and creativity from the world. And apparently no adult has any imagination. One, this is Japan. Two, if there's no imagination left in the world in any adults, how do they come up with this stuff? Because creativity is imagination. You imagine a concept and see what you can do with it. So to say that adults normally do not have the power of imagination, it's being insulting to themselves. And anyways, Channel 9's abducting kids. Red, since he has imagination, gets on there as well, and helps defeat the monster, well, beat back the monster before he's even joins the team. Apparently all of the team know each other from childhood, except they forgot that they knew this from childhood. So there's kind of this cross-cutting to a flashback where they're all together and building a tree fort that's very poorly executed because we still don't get to know anything about these people. And then he's on the Rainbow Line, which is a bunch of trains, and I was really hoping this was going to be Brave Express Might Gaim, but with Sentai. It's Steam Engine Sentai Thomas Ranger. You know, Thomas the Tank Engine, but a Sentai series. And, I don't mean to be negative. I mean, I like some of the ideas, like the switching colors thing for different weapons. I kind of like that, but it'd be better if the suits didn't outright suck. I mean, too much color on the body and just limited to the gloves. Yeah, they've done that before, and older series had something more to them that made them dynamic. You can't just do the gloves and a bit of splash on it with the, I wouldn't say symbol, but it's what indicates which one is which. And with how the suits are executed and how you tell the differences between them, it's going to be a tough season to figure out which one is which when they switch. And all that really happens when they switch is they change weapons. And Tokkyu 5, okay, that is going to grate on me. She's like timid girl, and then she does the little into that could, I think I can, and then she's Supergirl! Now, with the train thing, I think I can, that was an interesting reference. Until you start picking it apart. I mean, all of them show some incompetent elements in combat, and the least of which is the team's first. Tokkyu won the nominal Red, the one we get introduced to at the beginning of the episode. He shows the least incompetence, and yet he's the new guy. The form change is shown out of nowhere. It's like, hey, can I switch these? And without any instruction, they could just do that. And there's an override on the train, except how does he know this if he didn't know about the changer to begin with? Because they had to show him the changer and give it to him to even do this. And it's inconsistent writing. And I think it's Yasuko Kobayashi that wrote this one. I'm looking it up just to confirm, because... And, yeah, she is. Okay, for those who don't know, Toku screenwriters, she did Mirai Sentai Time Ranger, she did Seiju Sentai Gingaman, she did Kamen Rider Ryuki and Pretty Garden, Sailor Moon, Tenno, and oh god, this is actually consistent for her style. I love Kamen Rider O's. It is my favorite Rider series. She wrote that. And of the ones that she's written, it's the only one I don't have big complaints about. And looking at her IMDb page, she's actually a pretty consistent collaborator with Osamu Kaneda. Okay, that probably explains it. Although she also wrote my second favorite of the Digimon movies, Battle of Adventures. Most people actually know her because she did the screenplay adaptation of Attack on Titan. That's another one of her good ones. Ooh, Casher and Sins 2. I still need to catch that. Back on topic. So yeah, the writing is poor this year, and I think it's just because of the childish themes and exasperation. That's the Carranger effect again. Because it's mandated from on high, and they get stuck with this mess, and then better writers kind of stumble because they have to write down to this, and they overcompensate. And this is what I'm getting from this, with how, I don't know, maybe I'm just wishing for something that was better. And I know Super Sentai does the younger audience, and Kamen Rider's more younger teen audience with their intention, but the farther down you slide, the smaller your intended audience is going to be. I mean, look at some of the best received cartoons and anime, and My Little Pony, Princess is Magic, Avatar The Last Airbender, Avatar The Legend of Korra, Adventure Time. All audience stuff with a smaller intended audience, but can be enjoyed by anyone. It's like recent events, Lego Movie. It's silly in concept, but in the world it builds, it's like, well, joke there, Lego builds, because it's imagination, it's fun, the movie was trying to apply structure to things that where anything can be made into anything, and the nostalgia of play and those kind of themes worked well because they used them correctly. And it's like they're coming off from the beginning as, yeah, we don't want anyone but the really young kids to watch this, and that's going to backfire again. I mean, Go Busters tried for dark themes and screwed up royally with their execution of it, because they're doing comedy and all these other bits that just bog down the runtime, and then it's just all purposeless fighting with the final heart of the cards kind of thing. Kyoryuger's failings were not so much in execution, but in effects and not planning out the arc properly, and personalities. A bunch of other things I said in the last video, but those are the core of them that I got. And here it's going down in audience level. And like I said, that's my thing with the Carranger effect. It's not broadening. It's going down. I'm repeating myself now. Gaim. I'm finally caught up on Gaim. I have Though, sadly, TV Nihon's been down the last few weeks. I use TV Nihon. I actually really like TV Nihon subs because they don't translate what they don't need to translate. And they have the occasional typo, occasional wrong thing, and granted, they do stylistic things that I don't exactly enjoy most of the time, but they work well with each of the settings, and they do these little stylistic things with the henshin effects, where it's personalizing them, like the coin gimmicks for O's, or each of the logos for each of the Sentai changes in Gokaiger, and the switches and fours. I like that. I like TV Nihon subs. They don't get everything right, and yeah, people have called them out a lot because the community can be kind of assholes and they can't take critiques, and that's just exacerbating that because they're ignoring the problem. And when you ignore a problem, and you ignore people saying the problem, you pretty much just accept all this antagonism towards you, and it exasperates the issue. And yeah, I don't contribute much to the subbing community in the forums or that much, but I like TV Nihon subs. They can be assholes, but they're the most consistent group that have been doing them. And so the last few weeks, I've had to use Izir subs to watch it, and Izir subs are horrible. They don't intend to be. I get that, but they're translating stuff that doesn't need to be translated just for the sake of, oh, these people aren't doing everything and they're not doing it right, and so we're going to put in all these phrases, and we're going to make up phrases because we didn't get the actual translation down. TV Nihon does the actual translation of the stuff that makes sense. Izir and a lot of other subtitlers don't use what is being said, and instead make it so it's not correct, but there's less of a literal translation. It's like they're saying this, and how can we present this without actually screwing it up? And example of this, Malika versus Marika. Kamen Rider Marika is the Peach Rider. She's one of the Yggdrasil riders that use the Sonic Arrow, and Japan does not have an L in their alphabet. It's if they have to, most of the time, if there's an L sound, they go with an R sound instead, except not all of the times they do that, it's supposed to be an L, and a lot of subtitlers, a lot of translators get this wrong, and Izir is another one of those that gets this wrong. Marika, not Malika. And another one is they translated the Sengoku driver, and that's a term for a device, and they translated to the warring driver, and Sengoku is a term that relates to the Sengoku period, the warring states period. And they just call it the warring driver, and that's not what it is, because the creator of the driver is named Ryoma Sengoku. That is a name. That is not a reference to a period. It is a name. It should be Sengoku, and I've talked to them about this on Twitter, and I've tried to, and they've, I don't know, not replied back. Maybe they've gotten this one too many times, but it's ignoring the problem that there's something there, and I don't know. I'm just ranting about it because it's something that irks me, and on a guy. Yeah, this week, okay, the Beat Writer thing. Beat Writers are the dance teams in Gaim. And they popularized this game known as the Invest game, where all these monsters were originating from, except they were virtualized, and when the get out of control, they emerged as real entities, and they're not exactly responsible, as all the Invis are originating from the Helheim Forest or anyone that eats the Helheim fruits, but when the outbreaks started around episode 12, Yggdrasil Blacklist pointed all the fingers at the Beat Riders, and so last 6 or so episodes, they've been getting the regular blames for all of the damage and injuries from the invest attacks, and the last arc has been getting. The last arc for them has been getting the truth out, or trying to get the truth out, that they're not exactly the ones behind this. And this is pretty much the farewell. We're not going to be focusing on this subplot much anymore part of it, where all of the beat writers are trying to, well, Team Gaim of the beat writers is trying to get people together to show that any further infest attacks is not going to be from them. And Kaito, I think, has a good moment in this. Kaito, Kamen Rider Baron, the banana guy, he was one that really pushed the invest game, because he's got this weak and strong policy that I admit, is kind of contradictory, and he realizes that he exacerbated the whole matter and led to this, so he quits the team he's in charge of, and he hands it off to his second command, Zack, giving him a mass production Sengoku driver. Yes, Sengoku, not Warring. And the mass production drivers have been circulated by Yggdrasil to their soldiers, and when he and Kota, Kamen Rider Gaim, were captured a few episodes ago, he swiped one of the belts. So I think he was planning this, so he wouldn't have to, when he starts really fighting Yggdrasil, he wouldn't have the team on his back to carry him. So he's lightening his load and making sure they can protect themselves. And I rather like that. And the new writer, Kamen Rider Knuckle, is giant hands. So he's pretty much a walnut-themed gorilla. But the belts each have a signature phrase for each of the lock seeds that are plugged in. His is Mr. Knuckleman. And I think that's just the thing of the mass production belts, because Kamen Rider Bravo, he uses the Durian arms. He's this really effeminate, possibly gay pasteur. I posted a thing on Twitter of a joke he did. Oren arms, pasteur on stage, because he replaced one of the lock seeds with a fake lock seed for one of his subordinates that opens up with an image of his face and dropped the pan, and that was kind of funny. And that's kind of him. He's this wild card personality, and it's not exactly comedy, but okay, it is comedy. And I got off topic. Bravo crashes the party because he's on this tangent of fighting the beat writers, fighting them, and muckraking them, because he's been hired by Yggdrasil to do this, mixed with his own personalities, because at some point in the past he was a mercenary before he became a pastry chef. Yeah, he is ridiculous. And so Gaim and the new Knuckle have to fight him off, and the invest he summons continuing the muckraking, and it backfires on him because they're united against him to just focus on the dance, what they were supposed to be doing in the first place before the invest game kind of infested them. And DJ Sagara, the one that's kind of popularized the beat writers in the town, let the entire event play, so they know that the one that's popularized himself as the one that's going to save the town from these children that are causing all these problems. Yeah, that backfired on him because they showed him as the one summoning his own monsters for the thing getting out of control. And it's kind of not exactly repairing their relationship, but showing that even if they were responsible for some of it, anything more is not them. And they've learned their lesson. They've learned what lesson it is, and anything else should not be placed upon them. And text across the screen. This is something I did like about Izir subs. They tried to translate as much of the well wishes as the episode progressed through them and the arc, and I liked that they could get that much out of it, even if it wasn't exactly the right phrases. And the last of these was "Welcome back, Beat Writers," and that was a very good moment. That was, I think, a good conclusion to their arc. If they do anything more with it, it'll be, I don't think they're not going to repeat the same thing, so it's going to be more focusing on the, Yggdrasil versus the armed riders conflict. The armed riders are the Sengoku riders, and the, I don't know what we're calling the ones who use the Genesis drivers, the ones that kind of juice the lock seats instead of slicing them open. I should look that up. I just refer to them as the Archer Riders because they all wield this sonic arrow thing. So yeah, it's going to be more on the engaging conflict, and it's accented in the episode by Kamen Rider Duke, the lemon guy, who's Ryoma Sengoku, actually the creator of the belts, challenging Gaim, because he gave Gaim a lemon energy lock seed, which he can combine with his belt to transform into Jinba arms, or, how did they refer to this? It's a combination system. Jinba is, a phrase for horse and rider together, and I'm kind of nasally coming off cold, and I'm trying to remember the phrase they used to, the word Izir subs used to replace Jinba in this. It's basically a term for combination, and he's trying to get more details on it because he's trying to develop the stuff further, and so I'm guessing he's trying to see how it's developed in person, and that's how they're leading into the next episode. So, good episode of Gaim this week to contrast a bad beginning to Tokkyuger. Tokkyuger might improve. You gotta give some first episodes some leeway, and I'm kind of curious on why the conductor guy that's part of the train, the guy who has a puppet for a hand that's apparently sentient and the smartest person amongst the seven, I'm kind of curious on why he said they're going to be dying, and yeah, that's the catch to watch the next episode. Apparently the 5 Tokkyuger are dying in some form or another. Although, knowing this show, I'm betting you're about to become an adult, so whatever imagination you have is going to die out, so you're going to get rid of it by feeding all this imagination stuff, and if that happens to be what they do with it, I will be really, really sad and disappointed. Then again, it wouldn't be the first time. Got no comments last week. I might have on the YouTube video. I'm not reading the YouTube comments because I know they can get worse than a GameFAQs board post. So yeah, that's it for this week. I'll see you all back next time for Tokkyuger 2 and Gaim 19. See you all next week. Remember something else I wrote down last week especially for these videos, and I completely forgot about it. So, here's an addendum today. Okay. This is more about the Yggdrasil conflict and why all these people are fighting, and, Michi, Kamen Rider Ryugen, is the brother of Takatora Bata. Guy's name is Takatora. I call him Takatora Bata because O's, and Takatora showed him something in the Helheim Forest that got him on his side, and Michi's now acting as a spy for Gaim until they can get him down to show his loyalty. And Michi's on the side because whatever he showed him got him to agree with what Yggdrasil is doing, at least in part. And why not tell Coda the same thing? I mean, you don't have to tell him the entire story. I mean, we pretty much know already without actually knowing that Helheim is some variation of Earth, and Yggdrasil is working to stop that, but their plan is like, they're in the development stages, and they're only dealing with mass outbreaks, so why not tell Coda, who's already working to eliminate casualties, like reduce them, to get him on his side, and so he can focus on keeping people safe while they're working to stop it, because that's actually what they're doing. They're working to stop whatever Helheim's doing, the splitting of things open. So when the conflict is already eating much into their time and resources, and because they have a rogue that's both fighting them and fighting the Invis. So get him on your side. Have him focus on the outbreaks so you can focus on development, and you'll still get data for development because you already gave him the Lemon Lock Seed. You'll get the Jimba trials as he'll be fighting the stronger Inves that emerge, the human form Inves that might be created. And they keep needing to assign resources to focus on the armors, like I said, when they could have them on board. Instead, they went for Durian, which is a nutcase. You don't have to tell him it, and he's going to get his ass kicked because it's Durian. And he's already plateaued in what he's going to be able to do, but the younger ones are still growing because they don't have experience more than using the lock seeds. He already has, Durian, Bravo, already has his skills. Oren already went through all this stuff personally, so when he first appeared, he was wiping them. Now, Baron can match him evenly with a Class C rider. Kota can match him, and to overwhelm him with Jimba arms. Any two of the armored riders can take him down now, when he could sweep most of them as he was originally, and they're wasting the time creating the conflict when they could have up to their timetable on development through just having them research. And it's irritating because, oh, evil corporation, it's a cliche. It doesn't need to be a cliche. Kamen Rider O's. You never knew exactly what Kogami was up to, but he was a constant presence, and he eventually got to his goal. It's fulfillment of desire. He wanted to see O's manifested fully, as that was his legacy from being a descendant of the original Multi-King, and that happened. And the war with the greed conflict was all to gather the cell metals for that maturation, and he was keeping things out of the conflict so it could stay stable, and then Maki happened and it escalated things, but ultimately led to his eventual goal. And granted, he had financiers that were going to do evil things with the whole Foundation X thing. That has once been abandoned by continuity. Really, they're kind of inconsistent in how they use them. They seemed like they were going to be a big thing at the tail end of Double as this secret organization, and then they disappeared entirely from the O's line, and then they got brought back for a few events in 4s, and we have not seen them since. Hey, I like the continuity bridging by evil organization. It's constant threats by Foundation X experimenting with things in the current conflict. That's a good way to bridge them. And they did that for movie War Megamax, and that was a good movie. That was a good crossover movie, and we've not seen them. And magic, I get that. You can't exactly manipulate it, but here we have evil organization again, with financial backers and this whole utilization of rider system and monsters, and you'd think that Foundation X might have been a financer because they're a research group. They're researching alternate technologies for likely malicious use. They're a I wouldn't say secondary antagonist or benign antagonist, but they're a looming threat that might be something worth continuing on, as they're a bridging thread that, aside from that, covers more than just bringing a villain out of nowhere that happens to bridge two writer events, like the recent Sengoku Writer War event with Bujin Gaim, the Blood Gaim. Now, don't get me wrong, Blood Gaim was freaking awesome in design, but the movie was kind of reaching for it with another alternate dimension with alternate armored riders, and yeah, this is another Rider War, and we're gonna have another Rider War in the next movie, and I get that it's bridging these things to the Gaim theme of conflicting writers, which is back to the Ryuki days, but execution is my problem. Execution is regularly a problem with a lot of shows I watch, and the movies, it's like a lot of the time they put a less care into getting continuity right, and this is your addendum for the day.